Hey peeps, this is awkward, but I was thinking that Magic the Gathering seems to have accomplished what board games have strived so hard for, and at least in the past few years, and that is to very strongly wed theme to mechanisms, not just within one particular game, but over a large franchise of products and expansions. And I thought that was particularly noteworthy now. I said it in the last few years as far as theme with board games, because it only seems like in these past few years, theme has become so important to hobby board gamers. Because when you think about it, in the past, when Euro games were the dominant form of games that were not mass market games, now Euro games are still there. They still are what they are as far as their theme or lack thereof, along with abstract games. But you also have these games are really highly thematic, not just like bucket of dice war games. Now you have games like Time Stories and Pandemic Legacy, which are still have Ameritrash elements to them, but are also trying to have strategic gameplay to some degree, of course, together with this theme. But these are all encapsulated board games. I think what everyone strives for, I think what Plaid Hat is going for with their Dead of Winter series, what Space Cowboys is going for with Time Stories, with a bunch of different modules, you want that franchise. You want something that's going to tell a consistent story with consistent characters over a long period of time, and then when people get attached to these characters and storylines, then you've got almost a license to print money. It's still about the mechanism, it's still about the joy of the game, but you have an attachment to the game now, an emotional attachment to it that you may not have had before. Or perhaps you do have an emotional attachment to just mechanisms, but certainly having a face and humanistic characters and storylines that are compelling and emotional gets that point across even more. And I think that Magic has been running laps around everyone else when it comes to that over the past, well, not over the past 20 or so years. It wasn't always like that with Magic. In the early days of Magic, it was actually very, very difficult to find a compelling storyline amidst all the sort of fluff and nonsense. I mean, the original Magic sets were just generic fantasy tropes about Dominia, or is it called Dominaria? And then there was an emerging storyline about the Brothers' War, and that spun off into more stuff to the point where it almost became too many lingering plot threads. But you still had all these random sets. Some of them were disconnected from each other. Some of them were retroactively connected to the rest of the universe, and it just wasn't very tight-knit or cohesive. But then you get to the point where they're introducing planeswalkers, who are what you're supposed to be in Magic, introducing them as characters in the game, and then all of a sudden now you have compelling characters that have a mechanical link, and meaning that it's not just, hey, here's some story, which is Magic always did with flavor text and books and things like that, but now it's, here's a character who is important and integral to the lore, and now you can play as that character. So now you have an attachment to these characters, and now you are encouraged to build decks around them. And it's even more pronounced when it's in casual play. People in competitive play make the same sorts of decks, and it's less about the theme and the lore, it's more about the mechanisms. But for casual play, now, these are like rock stars to the people who live the Magic the Gathering lifestyle. And by the way, that person is not me. I haven't played Magic in a very long time. The only thing that I've played recently Magic the Gathering related with any kind of frequency is Magic the Gathering Puzzle Quest. And have I told you about Magic the Gathering Puzzle Quest? Puzzle Quest is amazing. It's one of the best games ever. You want to know more about Magic the Gathering Puzzle Quest? I can come to your home and tell you more about Magic the Gathering Puzzle Quest. Okay, never mind. Let's move on from that. But nevertheless, even though I don't play the card game very much anymore, I'm still fascinated by the lore. And you see other aspects where it seems that Magic has outpaced board games and card games and pretty much any other type of game except for role-playing games. And, you know, look, a lot of this is marketing. All of it is marketing. But I think that gamers in general, of course there's always like people who are just in it for, you know, whatever, because they're addicted to opening the booster packs, because they just love the pure mechanisms, grinding through tournaments, all these different things. But for the most part, I think that gamers as a whole are savvier than other people when it comes to marketing. And they know when they're just being sold something for the sake of it being sold to them. We're okay with exchanging currency for goods and services, but don't make fools of us. You know, it's okay if you want us to buy booster pack after booster pack after booster pack, But damn it, you better make it, something more than the sum of its parts. And I think that Magic has done a pretty good job of that over the years. And I know that it's contentious to say that amongst board gaming circles because it's a collectible card game, and by its very nature, people think it's taking advantage of the consumer. But even if that's the case, it's like a willing contract. And people come and go from the game. I've come and gone from the game over the last 20 years. But they have maintained a consistent product, and I really believe, and the point of this video is that the linchpin of that is its storytelling and its cohesive lore over the course of that time. Not always over the course of that time, off and on, but for the last at least 10 years or so. And so I wonder what lessons we can take away from that. Another thing that is sort of relevant to board gamers, I did a video on Cthulhu not too long ago. The latest set, which just released pre-released this past weekend, is releasing officially this coming weekend, I believe, was called Eldritch Moon, set in their Ravenloft-esque type world of Innistrad, which was dark gothic horror, and introduced to that was another trope of the Magic universe, a recent trope, the Eldrazi, who are they were always a call back to, or an homage to Lovecraft and his Lovecraftian Cthulhu horror. In their appearance, and their being ineffable beings, and these like dark gods who spawn other elder spawn, all of these different things. But previous sets sort of depicted the Eldrazi more like aliens from Starship Troopers swarming over a planet, or the xenomorphs in the extended Alien fiction swarming over the Earth. And, the rest of the Planeswalkers and their allies band together to war against them, which kind of like what I was talking about in my Cthulhu video, where there are Cthulhu games that have some of the aspects of Lovecraftian horror but don't feel dark and terrifying. Well, in Eldritch Moon, the newest set, the Eldrazi come to this Ravenloft-esque plane of Innistrad and start this big god named Emrakul, who's really Cthulhu-like, starts mutating all the creatures and people on the world, turns whole villages into giant monstrosities, and there's angels who become tainted and combined together into these really disgusting and bizarre and really creepy and scary things. And I'm like, wow, they did it. Magic actually managed to make me a little bit creeped out and disturbed, which is what is the point of Lovecraftian horror. And that can just be an isolated incident, but I think it's very telling that Magic was able to do that with a card game expansion set. What was something that a lot of other games and board games that put a lot more effort and time and money into just that one game could stand to learn a lesson from. So it's just another sign that I really believe that Magic is doing some great work with its storytelling, and I just want to know what you all think. What could we stand to learn from Magic? Maybe you don't want it to embrace its collectible card game aspect. That's why we have living card games. But even living card games really have not, aside from like Lord of the Rings, the card game, perhaps, has not done as well with its storytelling as Magic. That's just my opinion. Let me know what you think.